Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to your favorite Christian dating show. My name is Rose Kawera and this is Dating Right, a show that comes to you every Thursdays and we discuss matters, relationships and courtship, and we advise you on how you can go about it as a Christian. So today we are talking about Christian dating boundaries. I know that this is a controversial issue and most of the times we are confused on what can we do or what are we supposed to do and what are we not supposed to do. So today we want to look at how far should you go or what are the boundaries that you should look out for when you are in courtship. To help me with this discussion is none other than Tabnacha Oduor. He is a minister of the gospel as well, and he also does some of the shows. You know, he does kind of similar show to this one. So karibu sana Tabnacha. Thank you so much for creating time for us.
Thank you very much for also the invite. I don't take it for granted, and it's always pleasure getting an opportunity to talk to the young people and sharing with them some of the experiences in life, especially this matter of dating, because at the end of the day, everyone is made for someone. And you always want to know, how do I maneuver or how do I manage to get the right person? So dating right.
Yeah, we should date the right way.
Yeah, we should date the right way.
Okay, sawa. So I think we're just going to start with the most basic question that when it comes to physical interaction, let's just jump right into the deep sea. And I know many people really are very confused in terms of physical interaction. How far should physical interaction go as far as dating is concerned? But you know, and people also confused between dating and courtship. Probably could start from there. What is the difference between courtship and dating?
Okay, there's a very thin line between dating and courtship, and most people don't, or many young people don't really get it, because when you talk about dating, people always think like, okay, we have reached, it's the advanced stage of a relationship, but not really. There is friendship at the point where you see a young man or a young woman and you are like, wow, so and so can be my friend. That point, then dating comes, because the dating is the casual interaction. And just to burst their bubble, you can date even 10 girls, you can date 10 boys.
Wow. Because
it's casual interaction, you are just getting to know this person. You can go to several coffee dates or whatever, you can do that. But so it's generally casual, just getting to know each other. You are warming up to each other. Then when we talk about courtship, courtship is the advanced stage of a relationship. This is the point where you are like, okay, I've identified this lady, I've identified this man, is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. So you take it to the next level where you can even introduce them or introduce her to your parents, to your more closer circle of friends, relatives, and even start sharing future goals, that this is what I want in my family. I want to have 2 kids, I want to have 3. So that's courting, because now when you court, you see the word itself, court, you have aligned yourself, you've courted that person. Now that's the one. So dating is casual, but courtship is a different level. Okay. From courtship now we go to marriage.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's so beautifully explained. And you know, I think it's very insightful to many people, because most of us think dating is throughout. You know, once you've even gotten serious, it's still dating. So thank you so much for that.
But for those who are married, you can date your partner.
Okay.
Yeah, every day, just to spice up the union. Yeah.
Okay. Tutakuita, we will call you again to talk about spicing up your union while you are in marriage.
Yeah, but for now we are talking, I think, to the young people.
Yeah, to the young people who are not yet in marriage.
Yeah.
And you know, you put it correctly that you know it is the courtship is now the serious stage, and I think that's what we really want to discuss today. The serious stage where now you've identified your partner and you are like, this is someone I want to spend the rest of my life with. So if we begin from there, now you've already decided that me and Tabnacha, we are now a dual and we want to do this. Now, how far should the physical interaction go in terms of hugging? Let us be specific. Hugging, kissing. I know the Bible really, advocates against sex. So talk to us about physical interaction and how far should it go?
Okay, physical interaction. That's the biggest trap for most people who are in relationships. And you always want to get to the other side even before. But when you read the Bible most of the time, it's very clear. In Genesis 1:28, it's very clear that sex is a preserve for marriage. The same way when you read 1 Corinthians 7 verse 3, Paul admonishes and also tries to encourage people, telling them that sex is also for marriage, that once you are married, your body belongs to your spouse. So when we come to physical interaction, in fact, sex is, we've really gone a little bit far, but just something you alluded to, hugging. What's the boundary? Is it, there are those people who will hug from far. So you hold hands from afar, and then you say, okay, that's Christian. Oh, you just wave.
The side hugs.
Yeah, and I can't avoid this. We're Africans, and we have our morals and the way we view. For example, if you are village people know that you are not married, but they find you hugging each other so tight, and they know it's not yet there. So there are those thoughts which will come out, and they'll be like, no, this kid, this boy and girl will be coming, so it's immoral, it's not right. But in essence, what we are trying to say is the interaction, the physical or the intimacy has to be very minimal, because I think it's in Songs of Solomon, the Songs of Solomon chapter 2 verse 7. It says, do not awaken love before its time. Because there are dangers of awakening love. So intimacy or physical interaction should be very minimal before you get married, because we really, you'll push your adrenaline too much, and you'll find yourself in situations that you'll later regret. So I'd rather, if it's hugging, let it not be very tight before you get married. If it is, you can even pet each other, yes, just on the side cheek, that's not bad. And most of the time I will encourage, if you, and even holding hands, and most of these things can be practical or easy to do when you are in public places. But if you are tight in an enclosed room, there'll be fireworks. Yeah, the same if you kiss deeply in an enclosed room. But if you hold hands, even when you hold hands in an enclosed room, it's still dangerous.
Wow.
Yes, but you can, if you do it publicly, sometimes there's some bit of restraint that you'll experience compared to when you're doing it in an enclosed space. But always try. And some of us, I think some young people I don't know if they're strong enough to overcome that touch. Some of us are weak. So also know yourself, because most of the time you really need to know your body. Like, if I do this and this, then I'll find myself. Because some of us have some very, some of us will just see someone dancing rhythmically and it arouses them. Some of us are too strong. You can see that and you still stay strong. So try also to understand your body and know, if I put myself in this situation, I'll go overboard and I'll do something that I'll later regret.
And you mentioned about do not awaken love before this time.
Yes.
And I want to understand this in a deeper manner, because when you're actually courting, is that not already love? Okay. Are you not awakening? Are you not arousing it? Because when the Bible talks about not awakening love when it's time, what does it really mean? Okay,
what we are using a lenient word when we say do not arouse or awaken love. What I'm trying to say is the S word here. We are talking about sex. Do not awaken sex before it's time. And if you go back, we've read 1 Corinthians 7:3 and Genesis 1:28, which has told us precisely that sex is a preserve for marriage. So what we are trying to say, or the Bible is trying to say, is Songs of Solomon 2 verse 7, do not awaken love. It's in essence, it's saying do not awaken sex before it's time. There is a time, and I know most of us will really want to go to that stage, but you don't really need to rush young people, and you'll have a whole life to enjoy with your partner once you've been unified, and it will come with its blessings. And I want to tell young people today that most of the time, the best sex is marriage sex, because you can take your time. You don't have to do it in fear that somebody will catch you. You don't have to be worried that maybe so and so will become pregnant. My partner will become pregnant. You have all the luxury, and even when she's pregnant and you're married, nobody will blame you. They will say, "Oh, those are married couples. That is what they do." Yeah. So you see, it's more enjoyable than trying to rush it. You rush it, and it will come with a lot of issues that will really frustrate you later.
And you know, and I also want to quote a Bible verse that I don't know whether I know, probably you've come across it. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 18. It says that flee from sexual temptation.
Yes.
And you know, so how do you really, you know, it's a very difficult moment, and it's a very difficult period to really run away from these temptations that the Bible is talking about with a person that you really love. For example, if you're saying that you should not be in an enclosed room, do you want to mean that all the time that we will be dating will always be in the public space? I mean, don't we have some time to like be alone and talk about our issues and, you know, discuss other matters alone? That can be a bit really difficult. First
of all, it's a good question. Let me start from what I've always encouraged young people to desist or to stop, especially young men. There is this say, you'll always hear a young man telling a girl, let me use Swahili, unakuja kunitembelea lini? Unakuja lini?
Unakuja sleepover lini?
Unakuja sleepover lini? Ama unakuja kwangu lini? Kuniona lini? That question sounds as if unajua it's mgonjwa ndio anakuja kuona. Sasa unashindwa, kwani wewe ni mgonjwa ukuja tu uone?
Maybe they just want to spend time with you and watch a movie,
which is okay. But I'll go back to where if you know you are still in dating, or you've reached that advanced stage of courtship, I will encourage you to always make your meetings in open spaces for your own safety. But I'll go back to also what I said before. Know your body. If you know you can overcome that temptation of being in an enclosed space with the one you love, and you can still figure it out your way, it's okay. But if you know your body and you know you are weak, you can't manage, you don't have to. Because also sometimes we judge young people a lot. It's possible also to meet and do some Netflix.
And even pray together.
And
is
even,
that possible?
Of course. But all these things, how can they be practical? I think once you've identified, this is the one I want to marry, this is the one, she's the one, you have to set boundaries, the two of you. It has to be a partnership and an agreement between the two of you. Like you say, okay, now we are getting into a relationship, but you can hold my hand up to the elbow, or you can kiss me on the cheek, so that when somebody goes beyond that, then you can reprimand them and tell them, but
this is what you said.
This is what, because sometimes also ladies, sometimes people make commitments with each other and say, we'll not have sex until we get married. So it is the two of you now to make sure you create an environment that will not entice you to break your so set rules, the two of you, and say, this is what we'll do, this we won't do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for choosing DGTV Kenya. This is Kawera Rose, and with me is Tabnacha Udor, and we are talking about Christian dating boundaries, or if you like it, Christian courtship boundaries, because he has put it very correctly that, dating is just the casual thing, but courtship is now the serious aspect of it. So remember to comment and ask a question on all our social media platforms at DGTV Kenya, so that you can be able to be enlightened on this particular topic. Now, we are taking a very, very short commercial break. Please don't go any further.
DGTV, inspiring dominion.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for choosing DGTV Kenya. My name is Kawera Rose and this is Dating Right. I have with me in the studio Tabnacha Oduor, and we are discussing Christian dating boundaries. And Tabnacha has told us that even hugging, you should hug from afar. Not the kind of hugging that, arouses some emotions. You should not even, be in the same room with your partners. Something that is very, very difficult to do. And on that same note at Tabnacha, I would probably want to ask, or let's talk about this issue of people rushing into marriage because they want to, reduce the courtship time. So you want to reduce the courtship time in such a way that you rush into marriage to ensure that you don't end up sinning, So people date for a month or 3 months and they are in marriage just because they don't want to court for long and put themselves in compromising situations.
That's... it's a good question, but again, you really have to understand, why am I getting myself? Young people, you need to know that marriage is a lifetime commitment. It's not, when you are dating or you are courting and that girl comes to your place, you spend together, and akikusinya, you tell her, go to your place, me I go to my place, and that's it. But once you are married, the farthest she can go, if you have a 2-bedroom house, is the next bedroom. So you'll still be in the same house. So you really need to think about these issues, even as you rush to get into marriage, because you cannot say that it's a situation like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Like you're saying, I want to minimize the courting time. I want to minimize the dating. It will cost you later, because you really need to understand this person.
Yeah.
You are getting unified. You are getting into a bond with, a lifetime bond. Even though most people always like saying pingu za maisha, but it's not really pingu za maisha. If you put God ahead, marriage is the sweetest, the best creation, or the best institution that God created. So you really need to know this person. That's why most of the time I'll advise young people that instead of rushing or trying to overcome this temptation, because I think also Paul says, if you cannot command your body, try, or if you cannot stay single, marry.
Yeah.
Because not everyone was called to be a eunuch. Some of us have to get married so that our lives can move. So try also to look for, most of the time I'll say, look for Christian mentors. Mostly families of people who have stayed in marriage for more than 10, 20 years. Just to mentor you and take you through the process so that you don't really rush trying to, so don't use it and excuse that. Na haraka ndio nisiingie kwa majaribu. No, you will find yourself in bigger problems. So try just to hold your horses and learn about each other and set those boundaries, get Christian mentors who can really take you through. It will really help you and know why you are getting into that marriage. Because if sex alone is motivating you, or your body fire is motivating you to marry because you feel like, hey, it's too much, then it's dangerous, because sex, many people will tell you sex doesn't keep a marriage. Because if sex kept a marriage, most of those people who we call them sex experts will be having the best marriages now, but most of them are divorcing, are breaking up. So it's clear that sex is not the keeper of marriage, but it is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we are talking about, what is it that you're not supposed to do, and you've talked about not being in the same room together, and ensuring that your meetings are in public spaces. So how now do you bond? Because in connection to that, there's someone from Ken, there's someone called Ken, perhaps from Kahawa Wendani, and he's asking, how do I date someone if I can't be in the same room with them? He says, how can we talk about our issues alone and bond? Not being in the same space alone sounds impossible. So how do you really bond with your partner if you cannot be in a private space with them?
Okay, sometimes we advise young people, when we talk about being in a private space alone, what do we really mean? I'm talking about an enclosed space where it is only the two of you, where you can only hear her breathing, she can also hear you breathing. And most of the time, those spaces are dangerous. Why? Because you love each other. You have deep affection for each other, and you are bound to advance into sexual interactions, which is dangerous. Sometimes you advise people, young people, if you are in such a space, I know it's not popular, and most people will be like, what are you saying? If you are in an enclosed space, try to be in a space. Sometimes you advise, be with a friend who is just within there, because that will really help. Because sometimes you'll feel some bit of restraint, and so and so is around, so we can't really. But I know nowadays young people are so advanced, even having another person there, because I've gone to campuses where people will tell you, saa ingine tunafukuzwa, tunaambiwa tutoke kwa room, ama some people will even come na wanakaa, they sleep on a double deck, and so somebody is down there doing their thing, and so somebody else is up there sleeping, and not wanasema it's none of my business, whatever is going down there. So try. And part or two will go back where I was trying to say that, know your body. If you can control your sexual urges, because sometimes even hugging is not really bad, but if you can't, because I know some brothers and sisters can't go past hugging. Once they are hugged, they are gone. But there are some brothers who will be hugged and they are still solid.
And even the biggest question, Tamnacha, is now, how do you really bond with this person? Because if you are always with another friend when we are talking,
bonding.
How do I know Rose, you? How do I bond with you if I can't
Rose,
be with you alone?
Rose, and this is what the devil is a liar, my friend. The devil tells you that the only way to bond, because I've met young people who say, for me to understand a man, or for me to bond with them, we have to have sexual intercourse. So that I've met girls and young men who tell me that is the way they get to bond with somebody. But that's a lie. There are so many ways you can bond. You can go out on, it has been proven, road trips. You can go out on a cruise. You can go out on in a recreational sport. Hiking. You can bond while hiking.
Okay.
But we've been so intoxicated that we think the only way to bond has to be through physical interaction. There are so many ways to bond. Events, going together, trying to do what most companies always do here tonight. These things you go and do, team events where you go.
Team building.
Yeah, team building. And nowadays people are so adventurous. I've seen everywhere around, especially when we have these long weekends. There are these companies who always tells you, this weekend we are going to Embu, to the falls. We are going to do we are going to do the forest to do what do we call this thing? The zip line. We are going to do zip line. Those are different ways a Christian young person and a young lady and a young man can bond. You can even go to Christian seminars.
Together.
Yeah, together.
You cannot create your own seminar in your house.
Creating seminars is a recipe for temptation.
Disaster. Anyway.
Yes. So I'm just trying to say there are different ways you can bond. Yeah. Through, and you see all these spaces. Where I'm trying to push them towards it. Most of them are open spaces, and they really give you that free. They need to interact together socially, and most of the time you also find there are a lot of people there, so you can bond through that. Let nobody cheat you that you have to hug for 1 hour or to sleep together for you to bond. Okay. That will come. Yeah. So
basically you're saying it depends with your body, because I've also heard you saying that the peck on the cheek is not bad.
Yeah,
so it depends with what your body can handle.
You know, you have to be genuine with yourself. I have to be genuine with myself. That if this is done to me, there's a way, if you touch a lady, you know that, wow, then I've opened the floodgates. But there's a way you also know your man, because sometimes you also say, try also to be modest while you are around your partner or this person you are planning to marry. And that is why we say you also need to know them, because there is a way you will present yourself before them and you know, nimeua huyu kijana wa watu, ama msichana wa watu nimemaliza yeye. So try to understand your partner and their triggers. What are their triggers?
Wow.
Yeah, try to understand. Because kama sahi sawa, we have met in the house and then we are watching an erotic movie. Of course, nobody needs to tell you what will happen next. In fact, we'll not even go past 5 minutes of that movie.
You should watch sermons.
If you can, not necessarily sermons, you can also watch a good movie, a comedy movie, a thought-provoking movie.
So when you're watching this movie, do you also have a friend of yours in the house? Or you go to movie theaters? This thing is really complicated.
Okay, you can go to movie theaters, but nowadays I know movie theaters are back in our houses. We have the Netflix and whatever, so you can always watch together.
But moja akae kwa ile kiti ya huko.
You don't. The point here is know this person, because kuna mtu mwingine, if you just place your head on their shoulders,
that's it.
The guy is in Jerusalem. So there somebody, even if you put your head on their shoulder, the guy is still solid. So you really need to understand them and try to give them an environment where they will thrive and not fall into temptation. Because the whole idea is we really want you to know each other, but we also want to put what is a precept for marriage to remain a precept for marriage until that time. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then even before we wind up the show, we also want you to probably discuss a little bit about sex, because we want to understand why is God really against it before marriage? Is it just more than the act, or there's more to sex that we really don't know? That's why God says, please wait until you've tied the knots.
I want to understand that I'm talking to young people who might have even crossed the boundaries already, and they're even practicing sex in their dating and their relationship. First of all, before I say any other thing, I would like to quote from the book of 1 John chapter 1 verse 19. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. So for that young person who may have gone beyond what we call the boundaries, God still loves you. God still loves us all and is just and faithful and will forgive us. So when we talk, now back to the question is, why is God so clear on us not trying to indulge before our time? It's for your own benefit, one, because I'm created for someone, you are created for someone. And God wants you to have the best life with this one person. But there is that say that always, it is always brought out whenever we talked about matters like somebody will say practice makes perfect. But yes, it makes perfect, but not in sex. Because the more you interact with other people, several people have talked about that you are getting connected with different temperaments of people over time. And this word young people like using a lot, body count. Yangu imefika,
Yako imefika 12.
imefika 12. Let me burst their bubble and tell them, for each and every lady or man you slept with, heaven's account, and they say that's your partner. So it's like you have 12 wives. Wow. Or you have 10 wives. And the more you do it, the more it gives you, because sex is like, if there are people, if you've read, there is an old story about one man called Tekayo. It was written by a Kenyan writer, and says Tekayo was a hunter, and Tekayo will go hunting, and then one day he hunted a liver. He got a liver and went prepared it. He found it as the sweetest he had ever hunted, the liver. And Tekayo started looking for that specific liver and went to the bush, killed every animal he could find, but he never found a liver that had the same taste. And then one day, just imagining, he saw one of his grandchildren, and he was like, let me try. So he went ahead, killed the grandchild, and when he prepared the liver, he was like, this is what I've been looking for. And that was the beginning of Tekayo, starting to kill human beings just to eat their liver. So you see that desire. So the same with sex, that if you keep on indulging in it before your time and you want to try it with everyone else, as you are looking for the right spot, you will find yourself disintegrating and getting into that. And always, even when you are married, you want like, ile Hawamboi was good. I need to find. You are here with Alima, but you are always trying to reminisce and thinking, when will I? So you find it's a creation that will even make that marriage not stand, because you always, if I get so and so, I'll be better. If I get so and so, I'll be better. And you find yourself in a lot of problems. That is why God is trying to encourage us that, because when you have one person, there is this say most young people who are like using out here, 1 minute man.
Yeah.
Even if you have that one person, and they've never tried any other person who does even 3 minutes, they will always know 1 minute is the best. So there is a danger in wanting to know what is in the other room.
Especially if you've already tasted that.
Yeah, so basically that is what we are trying to say. We are trying to help you have a good marriage. Even if you are doing 30 seconds, your partner will not be...
Remember there's someone who was going for 30 minutes.
Yes, so try to confine yourself and stay with this one person, because you'll be unified. It's a spiritual bond, because God says any other sin is out of the body, but the sin of sexual immorality is within yourself. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. And even as we wind up the show, I would want you to probably answer this complicated question. And I've heard it many times that if you're now in a relationship, you're in courtship and you backslided. For some reason, you ended up having sex with your partner. Are you able to, repent and, ask God for forgiveness and then still continue with the relationship? Or you have to break up after you cross the boundaries?
This is what I always tell young people. There's a time Jesus was approached, and he was told that so-and-so has wronged me. And Jesus gave a very good answer that if your brother has wronged you, go and meet with him and solve your issue. If your brother accepts, then you've gotten him back. That's the end of it. The same to young people, and especially when you've broken those boundaries and you found yourself indulging in sex. It is the two of you who know what you did. Maybe your parents are not aware, even your pastor is not aware, nobody else is aware. Sometimes if you can meet together and say, okay, we did this and it was not right, let us stop it. And you decide genuinely to stop it. You don't need to go and tell any other person. But if you feel it's heavy on you, look for someone you can trust. Go and talk to them. Let him or her advise you. Most of the time it's always the pastor or the elders in the church or a senior married couple who you confide in. They can advise you, and then you can start building up again. So you don't really need to go out and announce. If the two of you can solve it at that stage, because Jesus is giving steps that, for example, if you reach a point that the two of you cannot, you can go to the next person. If that next person cannot, you can involve your parents. If your parents cannot, you can involve a counselor or the church community. And it progresses until you reach a point where you say, oh, it's okay. But if there's any young person who's watching us today and is like, I've messed up. If there is somebody like that and feeling, just try and talk to each other and say, this is what we did, but after watching Dating Right, we felt we've gone overboard and we really want to reconstruct and start again. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible, and it's up to you now for you to decide and say, this is what we'll do, this is what we won't do. Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you so much, Tabnacha, for having time for us. Thank you so much, you guys, for even, involving us in this conversation. That is your camera. You can talk to the young people. Someone is in courtship and they say that, Pasi, mimi sioni kama nitatoboa. I think I really need to get married as soon as possible, just as we talked about it. I want you to talk to young people. As your parting shot, what would you tell them as we wind up this very, very important topic?
My parting shot to the young people is, marriage is beautiful. And just staying in this world and knowing there's someone who cares and who loves you deeply, it's so reassuring. Because at least someone got me. So it's a beautiful thing, and relationships are not satanic. Having someone loving you is not evil. Hugging is not evil. Petting is not evil. It's only evil if you are open to abusing it and doing things which you should not be doing. If you're in a relationship, if you're in courtship, if you are dating, know that there are boundaries. There are things you can do, there are things you can't do. There are places you can go, there are places you can't go. So always have that in mind and master your body. That is generally the biggest takeaway I'll give you today. Master your body. Know what triggers you. Know what can make you cross boundaries that you set with your partner. And when you understand that, then you'll have a wonderful courtship, a wonderful dating experience that will lead into marriage.
Beautiful. I think nikiongeza nitakuwa na haribu. Thank you so much you guys for joining us today. Thank you so much for even the SMS that you've been sending us. And even if we read them later, probably I can call Tabnacha and link up you with him in case there are really very complex questions that we cannot be able to deal with. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kawera Rose. This has been Dating Right. With me in the studio was Tabnacha Odur. Until we meet next Thursday, please enjoy your evening.
DGTV, inspiring